Why do you procrastinate even when you know it will cause you more stress and pain later? It seems illogical, a form of self-sabotage. The answer lies not in logic, but in a powerful emotional short circuit happening in your brain. When you look at a daunting task, a specific part of your brain screams threat, long before your rational mind can calm it down. We'll uncover the specific brain regions involved and how this emotional hijacking leads to the very avoidance that makes the task feel even more impossible.
We have all been taught that procrastination is a failure of willpower, a simple lack of discipline. This diagnosis feels intuitively correct because it casts procrastination as a moral failing, something to be ashamed of. It places the blame squarely on your character, suggesting you are not trying hard enough. But what if this explanation is not just incomplete, but fundamentally wrong? What if the struggle isn't against laziness, but against a miscalculation deep within your own biology? The feeling of being bad at time management is a symptom, not the cause. It is the result of a system that is working exactly as designed, just for the wrong kind of threat. This misdiagnosis is precisely why traditional advice about discipline and planners so often fails. You cannot out-logic a system that operates on a different set of rules, one governed by emotion and survival instincts rather than rational planning. The real story begins not with a character flaw, but with a conflict between two ancient parts of your brain. One is the sophisticated planner, evolved for long-term strategy and complex decision-making. The other is an ancient guardian designed for immediate survival, constantly scanning the environment for danger. When these two systems disagree about what constitutes a threat, the more primal one usually wins. Its signals are faster and more potent, prioritizing short-term safety over long-term gain. This is why individuals who struggle with emotional regulation are more susceptible to procrastination regardless of their time management skills. The cycle is reinforced because avoidance provides temporary relief from the immediate stress of a task, even though it leads to long-term negative consequences. The core revelation is that procrastination is not a failure of discipline, but a misfire of the brain's threat detection system. This reframing is the first crucial step, shifting your internal dialogue from "I am lazy" to "my brain is misidentifying a threat." It moves the problem from a moral judgment to a biological puzzle, opening the door to strategies that actually address the root cause. This understanding is essential because tasks that evoke feelings of dread or insecurity are particularly prone to delay, and the perception of their difficulty often increases the longer they are put off.
To understand this hijacking, we need to locate the key players in the brain. The prefrontal cortex sits behind your forehead. It functions as the executive center, responsible for planning, decision-making, and regulating your emotions. It is the part of you that sets a goal and maps out the logical steps to achieve it. But deep within the temporal lobes lies a much older structure, the amygdala. This is your brain's built-in alarm system. Its primary job is simple and primal: to constantly scan your environment for threats, and, if one is detected, to trigger an immediate fight or flight response. It operates on a millisecond timescale, far quicker than your conscious, rational mind. When you look at a complex project, the amygdala does not see a to-do list. It interprets the situation through a lens of survival. The uncertainty of not knowing how to begin, the potential for failure, and the risk of social judgment, all of these can register as genuine threats. The amygdala cannot distinguish between a looming deadline and a physical danger. The physiological response it initiates is nearly identical. It then floods your system with stress hormones like adrenaline. This surge prepares your body for action, increasing your heart rate and sharpening your senses. However, this hormonal cascade is so potent that it can overwhelm the prefrontal cortex. The rational planner is effectively silenced, its capacity for logic and foresight diminished by the chemical alarm. In this heightened state, your brain's priority shifts decisively from long-term goals to immediate relief. The most logical choice, from the amygdala's perspective, is to eliminate the threat. Since you cannot fight or flee from a task itself, the only available option is avoidance. Turning away from the source of discomfort provides a powerful sense of safety. This means procrastination is not a sign of weakness or a lazy choice. It is a primal fight or flight response triggered by the amygdala, which has misinterpreted a challenging task as a danger. The illogical urge to avoid is a biological reaction to a perceived threat, a hijacking of your higher cognitive functions by an ancient survival mechanism. The temporary relief you feel when you give in to procrastination is the amygdala's alarm being silenced, reinforcing the behavior for next time.
The immediate relief you feel when you turn away from a task is not an illusion. It is a powerful biological signal. By avoiding the source of your amygdala's alarm, you effectively silence the stress response. This cessation of discomfort acts as a potent reward, training your brain to view avoidance as a successful strategy for managing negative emotions. Your brain learns a clear, albeit flawed, lesson. Procrastination works. However, this short-term fix comes with a significant long-term cost. The task does not vanish. It remains on your mental horizon, and its presence begins to change. With each passing day of delay, the perceived stakes grow higher. The mountain of work appears larger, and the fear of not having enough time to complete it intensifies. This escalating anxiety then feeds back into the system, making the task appear even more threatening to your amygdala the next time you consider it. This creates a vicious, self-reinforcing cycle. The very act of avoiding the immediate threat paradoxically increases the long-term threat. Each cycle of avoidance strengthens the neural pathway that associates the task with danger, making future procrastination more likely and more automatic. The task's objective difficulty may not change, but your brain's subjective assessment of it becomes increasingly distorted. It becomes more daunting precisely because you are avoiding it. This mechanism explains a common paradox. When you are actually engaged in the work, it often feels manageable. The stress dissipates as you make progress. But when you are procrastinating, the mere thought of the same task can feel overwhelmingly stressful. Experimental observations confirm this shift in appraisal. Individuals report that an activity feels manageable while they are doing it, but they consistently rate the idea of starting that same activity as highly stressful when they are avoiding it. The perceived difficulty of a task increases because you are avoiding it. Your own behavior amplifies the threat signal in your brain, creating a loop of dread and avoidance. The task itself is static, but your relationship to it is dynamically altered by each decision to delay. This is not a character flaw, but a predictable psychological pattern, one where the solution to discomfort becomes the cause of greater discomfort. Understanding this loop is essential for interrupting it.
If the core problem is an emotional hijacking, then applying a purely logistical solution is like using a bandage on a broken bone. It addresses the wrong system entirely. Elaborate planners and complex scheduling systems appeal to the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function and long-term planning. This is the part that gets sidelined during the amygdala hijack, its influence diminished by the flood of stress hormones. When the internal alarm bells are ringing, a beautifully organized calendar becomes irrelevant. Your brain, in that heightened state of perceived threat, seeks the path of least resistance. It gravitates toward whatever action promises the most immediate relief from discomfort. This is the neurological reason you can have a perfectly planned day with every hour meticulously blocked out and still find yourself scrolling through your phone or cleaning the kitchen instead. The plan appeals to logic, but the hijack operates on a more powerful, emotional frequency. The rational plan exists in a different cognitive domain than the primal urge to escape. The common focus on discipline and time management can even backfire, adding another layer of pressure and potential for perceived failure. When you invest time in creating a detailed schedule, you introduce a new set of expectations. Missing a self-imposed deadline then feels like further proof of your inadequacy. This failure does not register as a simple scheduling error. It feeds directly into the emotional cycle, reinforcing the amygdala's original fear that you cannot handle the task. The threat perception grows, now compounded by the shame of having failed to follow your own plan. The solution, therefore, is not to try harder with the same set of tools. It is to use a different class of tools altogether, ones that address the root cause of the emotional response. The goal shifts from overpowering the amygdala with sheer will to calming the amygdala's alarm. You are not engaging in a battle of willpower, you are engaging in a process of neurological negotiation. Simply trying to improve discipline or time management without addressing the underlying emotional threat is often ineffective because it fails to quiet the amygdala. Effective strategies must target the emotional response first, making the task feel less threatening before any logistical planning can take hold. The sequence matters. You must calm the alarm system before you can expect the executive center to function properly. This approach acknowledges that the barrier to starting is not a lack of organization, but an active biological resistance that requires a specific kind of intervention. The management of time becomes secondary to the management of your emotional state.
The key to breaking the self-reinforcing cycle is not to fight the amygdala, but to persuade it. You need to make the task feel less threatening. This is not about positive thinking or affirmations. It is about taking concrete actions that reduce the perception of threat at a neurological level. You are providing your brain with new, safer data points. The most powerful method is to break the task down into absurdly small, non-threatening components. The difference in how your brain registers these two commands is profound. Write a report is a vague, large-scale threat that triggers uncertainty and fear of judgment. Open a new document and write one sentence is a specific, minute action. The amygdala barely registers the latter because it contains no inherent risk of failure or social evaluation. It is a simple, almost mechanical instruction. This initial act of starting, however insignificant it may seem, provides a crucial counter-signal to your brain. It demonstrates that engagement is safe, not dangerous. You are proving to your alarm system that contact with the task does not lead to catastrophe. Each small step completed successfully builds a new association, gradually weakening the neural pathway that links the task to a threat response. The goal is to make the first step so easy that the resistance to starting becomes negligible. Another effective technique is to shift your focus from the outcome to the process. The amygdala is often triggered by the fear of a bad outcome, getting a poor grade, receiving negative feedback, failing to meet a standard. By changing your goal from get an A to spend 25 minutes researching, you remove the immediate pressure of judgment. You are no longer working toward an evaluation, you are simply committing to a period of engagement. This reframes the activity from a high-stakes performance to a low-stakes investment of time, which feels far less threatening. Journaling can also serve as a powerful tool by helping you surface the specific fears that are fueling the threat response. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, write down what you are afraid will happen if you work on the task. You might uncover fears of appearing incompetent, of not being perfect, or of the effort itself being overwhelming. Naming these fears robs them of their amorphous power and allows you to address each one directly with a small, manageable step. These practical strategies focus on reducing the task's perceived threat by systematically dismantling its intimidating qualities. This approach directly calms the amygdala's alarm, which in turn allows the prefrontal cortex to regain executive control. When the threat signal diminishes, your capacity for planning, focus, and sustained effort naturally reemerges. You are not battling your biology, you are working with it to create a condition where productivity can occur organically. The management of your cognitive state precedes the management of your time.
If procrastination is fundamentally a reaction to a perceived threat, then self-criticism functions like adding fuel to the fire. Berating yourself for avoiding a task only confirms the amygdala's initial fear. It signals that this situation is indeed dangerous, and worse, that you are not handling it well. This internal criticism amplifies the original stress response, layering shame and a sense of inadequacy on top of the existing anxiety. The brain's threat detection system receives validation, making the task seem even more perilous the next time you face it. Self-compassion, in contrast, acts like a circuit breaker for this emotional escalation. It directly de-escalates the heightened response by introducing a tone of understanding and support. This does not mean letting yourself off the hook or abandoning responsibility. It means responding to a lapse with the same pragmatic kindness you might offer a friend who stumbled. You would likely acknowledge their difficulty, recognize the common humanity in struggling, and encourage a fresh start. Applying this same attitude to yourself changes the internal climate. Acknowledging that the struggle is real and that it is rooted in a biological miscalculation rather than a moral failing significantly reduces the shame that amplifies the entire cycle. This shift in perspective is crucial. It moves the problem from the realm of personal character to the realm of neurobiology, where it can be addressed with specific strategies rather than judgment. Research in this area indicates that individuals who practice self-compassion after procrastinating are less likely to procrastinate on subsequent tasks. They effectively break the association between the task and feelings of shame and unworthiness. Forgiving yourself for a lapse and making a simple, concrete plan to try again is not a passive act. It is an active form of emotional regulation. It communicates safety to the amygdala, assuring it that a mistake is not a catastrophe. This gentler internal dialogue makes it psychologically safer for the brain to re-engage with the task. There is no longer a fear of self-punishment for imperfect performance. Cultivating self-compassion is therefore a crucial element because it directly counteracts the negative self-judgment that amplifies the threat signal. It creates the necessary conditions for the prefrontal cortex to resume its executive functions, allowing you to approach the task with a clarity that shame and criticism actively obstruct. The management of your self-talk becomes a foundational part of managing your productivity.
Procrastination is not a personal flaw to be eradicated, but a human behavior rooted in our neurology, one to be understood and managed with specific strategies. The next time you feel that powerful pull to avoid a task, recognize the sensation for what it truly is, not laziness, but a signal that your brain has miscalculated a threat. Your job is not to fight this biological reaction with sheer willpower. Instead, your role is to gently guide your brain toward a more accurate assessment. You do this by taking one small, non-threatening step at a time, proving to your amygdala that engagement is safe.